What's up guys, Sean here from Srkcycles, and this is the fastest motorcycles, fastest cruiser bikes for $5,000 or less. Now if you guys like videos like this, or you like test drives or anything, or just anything about motorcycles, if you just like watching YouTube, subscribe, click the like button, let's get into it. Alright guys, this is in no specific order, but we're going to start off with the Harley-Davidson V-Rod, and we're talking about the first gen V-Rod, which came out in 2002 and went to 2006. It had a 1130cc V-twin Porsche-designed water-cooled engine, and they called this motor the Revolution engine, and it made 115 horsepower at the crank. Now there was another rare option in the CVO Screaming Eagle V-Rod, which actually had a 1250cc water-cooled Porsche-designed motor. The V-Rod was a very unique style change where Harley built a bike that was basically designed for drag racing, where the fuel tank was hidden underneath the seat, and what appeared to be the fuel tank was actually the airbox and all the electronics. The V-Rod came in a few different models, including the Night Rod and the Street Rod. The Street Rod's biggest differentiating factor was the mid-range controls instead of the forward controls that you normally see. The V-Rod is a pretty cheap, fast bike and crushing the 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Alright, number 2 is the Suzuki M109R. Introduced in 2006, the M109R wrote the book on the muscle bike. It's huge, it's powerful, and it's got a giant rear tire on it. And in some rare circumstances, it can even take a turn. No, I'm just kidding. You don't want to turn with this bike. It's a pretty much go straight bike. The first thing you notice when you see one of these bikes is how massive it is. The tank is 7 feet wide, which is half as wide as the rear tire. Not only can novice riders not handle the massive amount of power that this bike has, but the weight is completely overwhelming for anyone with the faint of heart, making this an amazing machine and a true bargain for $5K or less if you find the right one. Number 3 is the VULCAN 650S. I've done a lot of videos about the VULCAN 650S. I think it's a great bike. The VULCAN 650S is one of the newest bikes that you can buy for less than $5 grand on this list. Kawasaki took the parallel twin from their not quite sport bike, Ninja 650, and stuck it in a very cool looking and very fun riding cruiser bike. It's also the same engine they have in the Kawasaki Versus 650. Kawasaki equipped the VULCAN 650 with something that they called ErgoFit. I think they called it ErgoFit. If they didn't, they should have, because it's a great name. Where the handlebars, the seat, and the feet controls can all be adjustable for people of different sizes. Basically what this means is that women can also ride this bike. If there were really women who actually ride bikes, I've heard rumors of these women who ride motorcycles, but I've never actually seen one in the wild. I've personally taken the VULCAN 650S against a Triumph Rocket, a Street Glide, and a bunch of other bikes that I thought would be faster than it, and the VULCAN came out ahead, mainly because the bike is so light. The 0 to 60 time on this bike is 4.2 seconds, and to fill you in on how easy it is to accomplish a time like this, the Honda Valkyrie. Now what we're talking about is the first gen Honda Valkyrie, not the second gen Honda Valkyrie. The Honda Valkyrie came out in 1996 and lasted until 2003. What they did was they took a 1500cc flat 6, one of the smoothest motors ever made at the time, and they took it from a Goldwing and they stuck it in a giant cruiser touring bike. Everyone loved this bike, although it's a little goofy looking. It demanded respect when people realized that you were rocking a 6-cylinder engine inside this thing. The Valkyrie is also one of the coolest exhaust notes to hit the pavement when you replace the stock pipes with a 6 in the 6 exhaust, and it just sounds like a Formula 1 car. I personally have a 1999 Valkyrie with over 80,000 miles on it, and it still runs like a champ. The 0 to 60 time on these bikes was mid 4 seconds, which might not seem to be super fast. To put it into perspective, a Gen 2 Dodge Viper does 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. So that's pretty fast. The Yamaha VMAX. The first gen VMAX came out in 1985, and later when the second gen VMAX in 2009 came out, they actually changed the name from VMAX with a dash to VMAX with no dash. Very different. There's no dash in there anymore. The original VMAX came out with a V4 70-degree motor and what they called V-Boost, which electronically pulls a wire to open up the butterfly valves to give it an extra 10% more power at the top end. The VMAX blew everything out of the water with its 143 horsepower, 1200cc motor and a 0 to 60 time of 3.3 seconds, which is pretty quick. For a bike that was designed in the 80s, the new VMAX, which you can't buy for less than $5,000, claims a 0 to 60 time of 2.5 seconds. Kawasaki VULCAN 2000. The Japanese decided that they needed to make one of the biggest mass-produced, largest displacement motorcycle ever. So they made a 2-liter VULCAN. The VULCAN 2000 was made from 2004 to 2010 and was everything that a large, very powerful motorcycle should be. Large and powerful. With a wet weight of 820 pounds, this liquid-cooled V-twin made over 100 horsepower and pulled a 0 to 60 time in just under 4 seconds. And only took another 1/8 of a second to get that bike up to 100 miles an hour. Now here's one bike that didn't actually make the list, but it's one of the best bikes. And the reason it didn't make the list is not because it's not fast enough, it's because it doesn't quite hit the $5,000 or under mark. But I think in a couple years it will, so keep an eye out for this. This is the 2015 and up Indian Scout. It is such a cool looking bike. It's got a timeless look. You could literally keep this motorcycle for the next 60 years and it'd be just as cool then as it was when you bought it. The Scout came out after a decade-long hiatus after Indian was purchased by Polaris. It's got a 69 cubic inch motor, which ends up being 1133 cc's. And it's what the Harley-Davidson Sportster should have been. The Indian Scout weighs in at 538 pounds and lays down an impressive 100 horsepower to the wheels. And through its 6-speed gearbox, it lays down a very impressive 3.8 second 0 to 60. That's as fast as an Aston Martin DB11. That's as fast as the legendary Ferrari F40. And all of this for just $5,000 or less. Guys, if you're looking for your next motorcycle, be sure to check out our test drives on this channel and also check out Srkcycles.com. We'll see you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe.